welcome to WROL Broadcast. I am Hate Mail. With me today we have Loot.
Hey guys.
Kage.
What's up?
Our favorite Jap, M4.
Hello, guys.
And the 6-time world champion, King of Siege, Sheriff Lobo.
Well, hello.
He's so good at Siege, he made others turn off their hacks just so he could win. Crush them. That was a good win. That was a close match. It was down to the wire.
The last 30 minutes, my hands were shaking the entire time, and my heart was beating out of my chest.
I kind of miss that feeling. I almost feel like I'm, even if you don't win when you're competing in the top 10, it's just so it's infuriating and exhilarating at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dude, Siege is such a sweat fest. Like, jeez.
I barely hung on to top 20.
I barely hung on to top 150. So.
Yeah, but mine's a little bit more pathetic, dude. I bought Siege Energy every day.
Yeah, I bought on the last
You
day.
bought
But
on the
I
last
normally,
day?
I bought Siege Energy every single day. Last day including.
I bought on the last day to get into 150, which is a new low for me. But I lost so much. So much. And what's the extra sad is that I have an RB2 Martian Manhunter and a Rebirth Metallo.
Just goes to show you, Rebirth's not necessary for Siege.
It helps, but I agree. It's not necessary, but I also played terrible and didn't care a lot of times. I didn't even bother to use bonus tunes a lot, so I didn't like the bonus tunes in this one. I didn't like Katana. Wally's boring.
I
You didn't like
hated
Red
the
Hood?
bonus tunes. That was
Red Hood?
terrible.
And I always play stupid against Red Hood. I always underestimate him, and then you'll get one-on-one with a green, and he'll still win, and he takes like 95 turns. But we'll get into that as we get into the tier list. Let's start with our nomination for the Toon of the Month. So we'll let you start, Sheriff, as the Siege champion. Who would you nominate for the Toon of the Month this month?
So I thought about this, and I prepared some ideas, and this was a tough one for me. I think it was less clear than last month. So I'm going to say, in contrast to what you just said, that the star of the month for me, notice I didn't say tunes, was actually kind of the dev team, because I think this was a great list of Siege bonus tunes. They were all good. I think it was my favorite list of all. Almost everybody was helpful in one way or the other. I kind of agree with what you all said a moment ago about maybe Wally being really important, really critical, maybe not necessarily the star of the tune, but like every single team on a regular board in Revenge was Martian Manhunter plus Wally. So that seems to be kind of like the foundation of all of the Siege teams. In contrast, I'm going to pick the loser of the month instead of the star of the month. And the loser,
A man of loose heart.
for me,
Trash of the month.
yeah,
I know where this is going.
trash loser of the month for me was Metallo. He was a waste. I used him least of all. He's a 0-turn taunter, red in a green heavy siege, and his legendary look is god awful. So I'm picking the loser of the month as Metallo.
Wow. Yeah, it hurts, but I in Siege itself, I think I could agree with that. But yeah, Metallo was pretty bad. But is Wally your Tune of the Month? Your nomination?
I don't know, because it was kind of like Wally plus Martian Manhunter had to be the combo of the two of them. So,
But not necessarily who you think needed to win, but maybe just who you thought overall deserves the honor of just being the Tune of the Month. And it doesn't have to be Siege; it could be overall. But
I don't know. I don't think I can pick, because like Martian Manhunter, Wally, Superman, Red Hood, they were all critically clutch depending upon the team that you were facing.
Loot, how about you? Who would you nominate as the Tune of the Month? Are you talking, Loot? We don't have your audio, Loot, if you're talking. And you're on mute. M4, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, why don't you give Tune of the Month while Loot figures?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Now we can.
Yes.
Jesus
Okay, I'm
Christ.
so sorry. I couldn't find the button. The screen went black. Everything just kind of went, oh my God. All right, tune of the month for me, Martian Manhunter. And to do what Lobo just did, the worst tune of the month, the trash. Metallo. Useless piece of garbage. My God, shouldn't even be in the game.
I don't think he's that bad, but I'm a little biased. But how about you, Kage? Who would you nominate as Tune of the Month? We're all over the map right now.
Yeah, Lowe made a good point. It really depended on the team. You know, there was Vincent's team where, you know, it was like all green or all blue or something. And he brought Superboy to the fight. And I really underestimated that team. I could not get a turn because of freaking Superboy and my Martian Manhunter being invisible. But anyway, I don't know, man. I really think Wally was the star of the point because you could not 1v1 him unless you had Red Hood. Red Hood had no misbleeds, right, and heal immunity, and could stop his like infinite turns, his awareness, and cheat death. So unless you had, you know, Katana or, you know, Red Hood, Wally was just gonna 1v1 everyone and just win. So I really think he was really underappreciated.
How about you, M4? Your Tune of the Month.
All right. So this is a tough decision. So if it's like overall, I think Martian Manhunter, hands down. I mean, S tier tune. But if you're just going to consider Siege, I think I'm going to give Wally the slight edge. So why Wally? So most of the time I go Martian Manhunter lead. But for the few occasions that I don't, I would still have Wally. Like, I can't even think of a match that I didn't bring Wally in. And also, Wally has that cheat death, which procs quite often in Siege, which is very surprising. And with his, once he gets ramped up, he can get those awareness stacks on himself, and it's a pain to deal with, right? So I think I'm going to give my vote to Wally.
My vote, I would have to say, is Martian Manhunter. Wally's alright, but I really think Martian Manhunter stole the show this month overall. I mean, Wally's great, but he's great for one turn in my mind. The rest of the match, he's not bad. He's a very solid character, but you bring him for that first turn, and then after that,
We can discuss that during
when
his
we get
turn,
to
but
him.
Hard disagree.
Yeah,
That's why you ranked 150. That's why me and M4 got top 10, top 20.
Probably.
My God.
Ooh,
Why do
shots
we
fired.
have you on the
Well,
podcast?
let's
Say, "Get
save it
off."
for when we get to Wally. But I don't know, he's just really boring to me. The Martian Manhunter, he's a great character. You used him in every single match in Siege except for occasionally in Revenge with Superman. Superman was one I'd almost kind of want to vote just because he was good for Revenge, but I did so terrible I have no right to that. So I think I'll agree with Martian Manhunter. I think that puts Martian Manhunter in the lead.
He might be the Toon of the Year like Lex was last year, but just for this month, I want to give it to Wally.
Yeah, I agree. So with that, let's move on to the characters. So Martian Manhunter is our winner.
Wait, Lobo, who did you vote as tune of the month?
I can't decide.
Wait, you're right. It's tied up. It was 2 and 2. So you have to be the tiebreaker.
All right, swing
Well,
vote.
I mean, if I had to vote, I think it is the combo of Martian Manhunter and Wally. Like together, they were on every single team. But I guess I would give the edge to Martian Manhunter if I had to pick between the two of them.
Well, you have to pick because you're the tiebreaker.
Well, then I'll pick Martian Manhunter.
All right. That was extra complicated. But we'll honorable mention to Wally for those of you that actually listen and not just look at the pictures.
I will say one thing about Wally. Well, I'm going to hold that
Yeah, as I say,
actually until we talk about
we
Wally.
want to just
Okay,
start with
let's move
Wally.
on.
Let's just start with Wally.
Okay.
Let's get the Wally conversation out. We'll start bottom up this time. So for Wally, Kage, why don't you start with your Wally rebuttal to mine? He's boring.
Yeah, so there are times where I wanted him to one-shot a red out the gate and get Red Hood's team leader running. You know, if that team didn't have a taunter, I would just use Wally's 3. He just one-shot a red. Boom. I'm already winning a match, right? But more so, like I was saying earlier, it's impossible to 1v1 him with the siege characters because the only one who had no miss attacks were Red Hood and Katana. And Red Hood misses, but his bleeds don't. So, you know, he can 1v1, he can cheat death, which was all the time, for no reason. I guess that just makes me realize how much trash Spectre is. Yeah, he ramps up quite a bit. You know, by the time the match is over, he had like 100 speed ups and
He's super
took
annoying
a
on
million
defense,
turns.
but mine doesn't crit,
Yeah.
so he doesn't kill reds, and his basic does no damage. And then mine doesn't cheat death either. So
Your RNG is just trash, dude.
it's my problem is if they're RNG based tunes, that knocks them down a tier for me.
I
But
have a feeling you're gonna hate next month's characters then.
I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah, for me, his damage is really inconsistent. Sometimes you use his third move on a red and it's, a sneeze does more harm to them. And sometimes you use his third move on a green and it one-shots a green. So it's just like his damage is really inconsistent.
I bet he
I
would be a
never
really.
use it. I never use it unless he has the 5 speed ups.
Mm-hmm.
See, I always forget about that part too. Hence 144 in siege.
So I use his basics. So he gets the speed ups and he gets faster and faster so he can poke out those awareness, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's his main usage. And also once he's fast enough, he gets so many turns that he can use his 2 to pile up the awareness. And he doesn't even lose them. I don't know. He's really good at proccing his first passive where he gets the stack of evasion. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's so annoying when it's on the other side, but when your Wally is a sliver of health and decides to evade, it's a great feeling. Like, oh, I almost lost him, or he comes back and it's like, oh, cool. But yeah, I mean, you don't bring him for the damage. He's there for utility, like trying to poke awareness and then get speed up for your team. Once he gets that fat stack, he just keeps going, and then you can hit anyone with that 3, and it's gonna hit hard. But don't use it without the 5 speed ups. It's
Yeah.
not gonna do much harm to the opponent.
He's a character I think if somebody RB5'd him, he'd be. Because you use him
He'd be
so
scary.
much in
Yeah,
Siege,
he'd be
and he'd be
scary.
really scary at RB5. If he wasn't green, I'd consider it, but I can't do any more greens. Just to eventually do a flash speed something, just to pair with my flash.
So I
But
have the same problem that Hate Mail has. My Wally doesn't cheat death ever, and my Wally doesn't crit especially on turn 1. So like the defensive Wally, maybe it's turn 2. I don't remember if he buffs or if he just goes to hit me. So like if I brought Red Hood and I didn't have any protection for Red Hood, he dies immediately to Wally on that crit with like 1 speed up, which is just extremely frustrating. However, I do think Wally is important because he basically defines the speed meta. There's a lot that he does that really makes sense. I just wish that mine cheated death because the defensive Wally is not my Wally. The defensive Wally is the Wally that I want. I'm just stuck with the Wally that I have, but I have to use him if I want to be competitive. And I do think the only Wally that would work, that I would consider a great Wally, is an RB5 Wally for me. And, spoiler, I'm going to get there because I almost have enough frags for it.
Wow, nice.
What? What the heck? What the heck?
All
It's
right.
going to happen. RB5 Wally from loot.
Anything else on Wally before we move on? All right,
I don't
moving
think so.
on. Let's go to Superman. And just got a rework. Pretty interesting
Did
character.
did we say what our votes were for Wally?
Oh yeah, we all stayed with an A. So
Yeah,
he's
didn't change.
still an A. Wally didn't change. It's gonna be a little bit of a boring month when it comes to scoring. But
Hmm.
Superman, we'll start with you, Sheriff, since you had him as an A.
Yeah, I think that he was actually really helpful in Siege, even off leadership. So he's tanky and he has that taunt. And his taunt was actually helpful and survivable as opposed to the loser of the month. So I included him on a lot of my teams. Probably one of my most common teams that I used was Martian Manhunter, Wally, Superman, and Red Hood. So using his leadership is like super duper annoying now because you have to bring buff immunity, more than one buff immunity tunes, because he just knocks that buff immunity off like crazy. So his leadership is awesome. But even off leadership in Siege, he was valuable. And his heat vision actually was really helpful in a lot of ways. So you could use it on, if you knock that initial awareness off of Martian Manhunter, use his heat vision to keep Martian Manhunter from getting out of control. You could use it on Wally because the buff and damage immunity are not missed. So even if the damage misses, you can still keep Wally from reviving and getting those speeds up. And I even used Superman, like in one match, I had that team and a Parasite was on the other team, and my Red Hood got knocked out before I could finish Parasite off, and I used Superman's heat vision to, kind of use the turn strategically and was able to knock Parasite out with that heat vision. And so I thought Superman was very valuable. I give him an A.
Kage, you also have him as an A.
I'd say B plus at this point.
Well, your score says A. So.
Well, I just woke up, so I never had a chance to update my
Oh,
scores.
okay. well, so you're voting for a B then.
Yeah, Lobo said a lot of the things I want to say, as in regards to the no-miss, laser beams that did what you wanted to do. He personally just doesn't fit my playstyle. He's just so slow and boring to use.
Slow?
I just
That's
can't.
surprising.
Well, not that he's slow. He's fast. It's just he does no damage, so the match takes longer. He prolongs the fight. That's
When you're
not
facing
my
him, he
playstyle.
prolongs the fight greatly, which is my reason for hating him. He's up there on some of my most hated characters to face.
Yeah, let me finish. Yeah, he just takes forever to kill. He takes forever to kill, like someone. So he's just not my playstyle, but I can appreciate the tools he brings. He's not a great leader, but if you want to create some annoying teams, then one to him. That's all I gotta say.
M4?
All right, so I view him as a utility tank. So his speed is perfect in the siege because he just goes right after Wally. So you either taunt to absorb the next big hitter on the other side, or he can put that buff immunity. So he's surprisingly fast, right? And putting the buff immunity on someone can just disable Toon, right? So let's see. When Wally buffs, you can put the buff immunity on what's the other his name? Or Wally, or even Castaway. They won't go invis, and then he can be a good mediate. So the reason I couldn't give him an A is because As a leader, he's really good at not losing, but he really can't protect your teammates, right? If he just invites Wonder Girl and Wonder Girl kills everyone. So he is safe from Wonder Girl because of the damage immunity. He just stacks them like crazy, but he can't protect anyone. So if you're not interested in the star system, I mean, he's a good, annoying defensive leader. So you get defensive wins, but I never used him as a leader in Siege because you'll lose stars.
Kage.
So that's why I
I'm not
couldn't
Kage.
give him an A.
I meant
Luke.
Luke.
I'm not a huge fan of Superman, to be totally straight. I mean, he kind of goes against how I play the game. I play the game for 3 stars. Like, that's my goal. I don't like, every single fight I go into, I want all 3 stars. And he just doesn't offer enough protection to the team. I pretty much only used him off lead a lot of times because most of the teams in the top 10 were Martian Manhunter lead. He was okay on defense, but at the same time, then I didn't care about the star system. I just needed a win because that's how revenge works. So to me, he just doesn't offer a lot. And my Superman dies like all the time. He just doesn't live. So it just doesn't really work for me. So I give him a B. That's all I got to say.
All right, and then on Superman, I would say I'm torn between A and B, kind of A minus, B plus. Looks like his scoring, he'll end up being a B on the scores. Um, you can make him really annoying, but you can't. Yeah, you're right. You can't really survive your team. The one big thing though is I do notice when I face him, he's really good with Lex because he is really fast, and then that buff heals everybody. And I underestimate him sometimes when I'm facing Lex teams when I see Superman because you can't stun him, you can't debuff him, so he's gonna get that taunt off pretty 90% of the time because he's really difficult to one shot, even with some of your strongest tunes. So he's definitely a pretty solid character, but he's a lot better than he used to be. He's still not what everybody wants him to be, but I think he's in a good place now, comparatively. Moving on, Spectre. He is a character that I finally geared, and I like him because he has a stun, but it's only 50% of the time. Can't understand why that isn't 100%, like many other characters. But I like him a little more than I used to. He's not great. I think he's borderline B in my mind. He's almost a C. But he's not bad. Why don't we start with you, Loot, this time?
Spectre did a lot of things right this siege. Like, his AoE was really important, and he is pretty fast. So, like, he does help big time against Martian Manhunter because he can remove awareness. So it wasn't useless for me. Overall, I just think he's bad. He's just not great. But he's not trash either.
You know, I think I'm
So-
going to lower mine to a C. You just sold me. You have a B. I'm kind of surprised based on
Yeah,
everything.
you know what? I'm going to lower mine to a C also. Because he's not trash. He really isn't trash.
No.
But I don't even think he's a B. I think I agree with you. I think he's a C. He's whatever. His damage is pitiful on offense. On defense, he might surprise you. I don't know.
Once
C.
you get a couple kills, he's good, but by then it doesn't really matter as much.
It doesn't really matter at that point.
I do like the heal immunity. That's
It's
useful.
very important. That AoE really works against Martian Manhunter.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty good. Kage, I see you have him as a B. Is that your score?
Dude, I woke up, so I
no,
never
that's what I'm
touched
asking.
this.
I know
So
you.
no, I wanted to put him as a C.
Okay.
I just
I had a feeling that
I
was
just-
the case. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. No, he's just very inconsistent. Very okay. Like he can open the match with a AOE that can kill your Wally in one go. I mean that's scary. But that's like 25% of the time. It's really he has good tools, but they're just not consistent. The stun I wish would just be 100%. I don't know why it's 50%.
I was using him early in Siege, and then I realized I was losing him in almost every match. So I said, I really should stop using him. M4, you have him as a B.
The more I listen to you guys, the more I'm convinced he might be a C. But I can't quite put him with the other Cs because one thing is fast, and the first turn he's very useful. He can put that AOE, remove awareness, and put heal immunity. Helps against Wally and Parasite, all of those guys. Then if not, let's say Soup goes before him, so he can purge that and then get a lucky stun sometimes. And then his basic can surprisingly hit hard, especially against greens with shields, like say an Arcus or Hal Jordan. So he's not completely useless. He's simply just not a plug-and-play toon, but when he ramps up, you've seen him under Lex, or he hits really hard. So he might be borderline, but I'm not quite sold that he's a C character.
Who are the other C character or C list boosts?
I
Let's see.
think he's kind
Because
of
if he's at least above them, I can say he's like a B minus.
All right, so let's get some C blues. Shazam. The Wonder Women. Let's see who else.
Katana.
Raven. Oh, she's not even close to that.
Well, there's a higher and lower of C tier.
Raven needs to go to trash tier, guys. We're gonna.
You know what? I might agree to that.
It wouldn't take much. Let's move her.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, Raven's just whatever. Okay. Back to truck up.
Yeah,
we needed a trash tier for this.
If Mary's a B character, I just don't think Spectre's on her level.
That's true, but she's not as terrible as.
And like Ocean Master, I would.
Well, I mean, she's a lot better than he is.
Yeah,
he's somewhere in between,
I'd
right?
take into a fight than Spectre.
I mean,
Ocean Master at least consistently purges.
Okay, since I'm on the fence and already 3 votes for C, I think we know where this is headed, right? He's gonna end up in the C.
Yeah. Sheriff Lobo, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean,
can you refilter too, M4? Oh, thank you.
B minus, C plus, or C, I have no problem with. I agree with what everybody else says. I think his intelligence ups need to be 100% as well as his stun, and that would push him up. I don't think he fit well with this list of siege toons. He was kind of out of place. He was a liability. He would die easily. And if you had Wally and Martian Manhunter, you could put that debuff immunity on your team and counter his heal immunity. So he was not great in this siege. So I have no problem with him ending up as a C.
All right, moving on. We will go to Red Hood.
Wait, I just want to make one final thought about Spectre. So, according to, if you look at Macro DeCruz's hero list, he has a Rebirth Spectre, which somehow carries him really, really far. He ends up on my boards. So, obviously, his Spectre is S tier.
That's true. Maybe we should move him to S tier because
I
noticed
if Macro DeCruz can do it, obviously we are doing something wrong, right?
That's very true because he didn't even use geared characters with his Spectre. His Spectre.
Yeah, maybe right. Spectre works better as a leader.
His Spectre just carries.
Well, let's hold that thought because I want to do a full review of Macro Day Cruises. I like that name instead of Marco.
Marco.
Macro.
Marco.
Macro
It's
Day Cruise.
Oh my
That's
God.
good. I like it. um, we need to do a full analytical dissertation of his PvP powers. So we'll verify his roster. So with that, let's talk about Red Hood. He is obviously an S tier. We voted him that many times. I don't think anybody's gonna say anything different. But I will just say this: in this siege, I can't believe how good he is out of leader. I mean, he's great in leader, but he's so good out of leader as well. He's obscene.
I
Sure.
think I only used him out of lead. I might have used him in leader maybe 1 or 2 times,
Yeah, it's been.
but
Yeah,
he's
early on, but
amazing.
you can't
In
use
lead
him on
or
lead.
off lead.
Yeah.
M4, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, he was my choice of RB for the siege. I took him to RB3 specifically for this because I saw Parasite and um, Katana, Spectre. I need a hard-hitting red. Metallo was not it. So at RB3, his AoE hurts a lot, like a lot. Okay. So, and then when he gets the bleeds in, this is where people kind of misuse Red Hood. His basic sucks. Just, I gotta get that out there. It's just good for the bleeds. But you want to use this too when someone is bleeding to get the guaranteed 50%. That's why the computer is so good at it, because he's gonna use the 2 and gets that turn meter, and then he goes again, right? So using his basic is just going to make you roll the dice. If he procs it, great. But if he doesn't, you're much better off using his 2. And then the heal immunity is so clutch. Okay, and then also he seemed to be very good at killing Wally, because Wally's been a problem to here, but Red Hood takes care of him easy. The problem with Red Hood though is like he just dies against Martian Manhunter. And Lobo, I know Lobo also had this problem of keeping him alive in the siege. So that's one knock on him. He's kind of squishy, but offensively he's perfect.
Sure.
Lead or off lead.
We'll let you follow up on that one.
I mean, I really don't have much to say in addition to that. You know, his bleeds, can't miss bleeds, and heal immunity was good for Wally. So he was even helpful with, you know, dealing with some of the greens in this siege. And he's just awesome. I mean, I think his leadership really gives him that SSS, you know, status. But he's super awesome even outside of lead. But you know, with Martian Manhunter and Wally, you know, it was a chore and nearly an impossible feat to keep any Reds alive against Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, it got tough at times. Kage, any thoughts on him?
Nope. Yeah, S tier all the way.
All right, we'll move on. Raven, we just recently discussed. We're moving her to trash tier. Anybody have any problems with that before we move on?
I'm not going to change my vote to trash tier. I don't think she's anywhere near, you know, Joker Damage Goods or Blue Beetle. She's not great. I think she's a C.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on it too. I don't think she's that bad.
She's not as bad as the other trash characters, but she's nowhere near as good as the other C characters as well. She's in that limbo of like, she's kind of trashy, but not that trashy as
Just
the
because I
others.
want to use the sound drop, I'm going to leave her trash.
And 3 guys voted trash, so there you go.
Maybe we'll move her back next month, but that way we can move. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Parasite. Kage, let's let you start. Tell me your score and your thoughts.
I'm going to withhold voting. I don't have him geared.
Oh, okay. So we will, I guess, let's start with you, Luke, since you seem to like him a little more than most. We have a meta report that just came out that talked about
Parasite?
him. Yeah.
I'm quite happy with Parasite. I think he's pretty good. As you know, I don't know when this is coming out in relation to the meta report, but I think he's a solid B character for sure. I mean, he's really tough to kill. Even against Reds, he's tough to kill. So, I mean, he hasn't punched very hard, like he doesn't hit, but his utility is pretty solid. His purge is really good. That second skill where he steals the buffs is good, and he gets that overheal. I really like his passive that just keeps healing him over and over and over again. Very frustrating to fight him sometimes. I had a stalemate fight yesterday on Revenge, and I had to end the match. It was me versus two toons. So my Parasite versus enemy Parasite and another toon. It might have been Wally, and nobody was dying. I couldn't. It was just I think I let it go for an hour. I put it on auto and I walked away and I came back and it was exactly the same place. So super unkillable. Solid B for me.
I think I'd vote him a C. I'm just not that into him. He doesn't. I mean, I don't care that much. I like control-y tunes, but his purge is okay. His purge plus heal is okay, but the rest of it just kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not feeling him that much. How about you, M4?
So he's a slow gear, but I did face him a lot of times in Siege, and he can be a problem. So yeah, so Luke mentioned that he's unkillable. He just heals. If you can't kill him, he'll just go back to full health and you're back to square one. And the most annoying thing that he does is if he gets his turn, he's going to steal all those freaking awareness, which, everyone uses Martian Manhunter. He steals them all. The invisibility, he just steals them and oh crap. All of my toons are vulnerable now to Martian Manhunter. So the problem here is that you need to bring strong reds just to kill him because, I don't know, he's almost unkillable by reds and greens. So if you bring reds and then he's protected by 3 greens, you're going to lose those reds. So I think he has a place in PvP. I voted B for him.
How about you, Sheriff?
Yeah, I agree with B. I only have him L3. So he's not as good as I hope, but he's not as bad as one might think. If you don't plan for him, he can definitely wreck your strategy, as the other guys have said. Red Hood does good, shutting him down. Cassie does good. And like M4 said, when he steals those buffs, he takes your invisibility, he takes your awareness. So if you don't plan around that, so sometimes when I would face him, I would alter my strategy and hope, in most cases he did, that he would use his steal buff AoE move first. So I would wait until he did that to start doing the buffs with awareness and invisibility and try to get him out with Red Hood as quick as possible. His damage is ugh.
So we will mark.
Wait, so
Oh, go ahead, Kage.
I just had a question. What exactly is his game plan and how is his damage? Like when he crits, I know his damage is terrible, like
It's terrible.
normally, but
even.
really?
Yeah, it's
His
way
damage
low.
is really
what's his-
bad. Just bad. Does no damage.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not there for damage at all. All right, let's move on to everybody's favorite character of the month, Metallo. And I will say that he is pretty bad overall, but I found teams I really like him on. I like his purge. I like his stun. And I like that he has a turn to autonomy. But overall, he's not a great character. I'm voting him as a B, and that's probably a little generous. But Luke, you have him as trash tier, so I'll let you start.
He does absolutely nothing right. I mean, I heard what you just said. He's got the purge. He's got the stun. His stun's not.
It's 100% early.
I understand that, but he dies so fast. You can't give a turn 0 taunter no health, and no protections. His crit. Does he have crit immunity? I don't
Yeah,
even
for 2
remember.
turns. He gets crit immunity.
It does, but it doesn't really work because all the toons out there that we're facing lately, they're all special damage. Special damage has this weird quality to it where it just doesn't care if you have crit immunity. It just annihilates him. So if he were to have had damage immunity or death immunity, I would have changed my entire thought process on him. But he's a liability. You'll lose a star because of him, or you'll lose a fight because of him.
I struggled to keep him alive this siege, but in normal Wraith, when I'm using like better composition teams, it was a little easier for me. I like him with Brainiac a lot because he doesn't instantly die to Arcus and Power Girl retaliation. But yeah, he's difficult to keep alive. Sheriff, I'll let you go next since you have him the next lowest.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I said before, he was my loser of the month. And, for a long time, and we've, talked about this, and you all talked about this on other podcasts, like, bringing a green to a fight was such a liability because of Wonder Girl. So greens were kind of on the bottom of the ranking forever. And then I guess because of Wonder Girl, I'm suspecting greens now have to be like super strong, either, physical or special damage or super tanking. So greens are kind of dominating the game right now, and I don't think any turn 0 red taunter without some kind of super protection is going to do well. I mean, even Barda now, like with Arcus, with Martian Manhunter, with Lex,
You're right.
She doesn't survive. So, I think part of the problem is a turn 0 red taunter, because he does have some value in his AoE purge, but he's just a liability right now in the way the meta is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. How about Yukage? Why don't you go next?
Yeah, his problem is that he's a red on the front lines of a green heavy meta. Even in Wraith, I was just trying to look for teams that he would shine against, and I'm just finding like Lex, Martian Manhunter everywhere, Arcus, Power Girl. So, I'm a little concerned about, maybe next month's red, that next month's red won't see any play just because
Well,
it's going to
hopefully
be...
that character isn't a turn 0 taunter too. So I mean, Reds see plenty of play. They just don't, if they're turn 0 taunter, they got to have.
Well, unless your name is Red Hood or Red Robin,
Or
maybe
Castaway. Green Arrow. That's a decent amount.
those guys have a very way of staying invisible. You don't see Joker on the front lines of the meta anymore. Black Manta. I mean, I don't know. But yeah,
what's your rating?
Probably a C.
Okay.
He's just not great. Good tools, wrong gear set, I think.
Yeah, he's one that I think with a rework could be a great character. I mean, he wouldn't take a lot. How about you, M4? Final thoughts?
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So he has a good, decent kit, but he has the wrong gear set. So if you're going to make someone a turn 0 taunter, so look at Chemo last month. He's terrible because he has no damage mitigation, but at least he's a tank, so he can take a hit or two before he goes down. Metallo he has such potential, but because he's a physical support, he doesn't have the HP to take the hits. We've seen this before with taunters that has very little mitigation that are not tanks like Giganta. They just go down easy. However, I can't quite put him as a C because he's been very useful for me in Revenges because he's the only turn 0 taunter for bonus toon in the siege. So in Revenge, it doesn't matter. It takes the heat off of Red Hood so he can take care of Parasite or the other blues. So he does have his usage and hate. So your investment, maybe at RB5 he'll be decent.
Well, I
can take the hits.
didn't buy enough to go RB5. I've only bought enough to go RB2. So kind of disappointed because I like him and I'm using him. And I know he's not a great character, so I'm okay with that. But I wish I would have bought the shards to take him RB5 because I do think he'd be decent at RB5 because
that stun is useful. You just know that he's gonna die. But in Revenge, if you can control the first few turns of the match to get it in your favor, 4 versus 3 or 4 versus 2, he's very useful.
He does good damage too. Like once he gets
Yeah,
ramped
when
up.
he ramps up, yeah, he can knock out those blues easy.
So I guess
You still
somebody's
see
got the
though.
major flatulence, but we'll move on to whoever's chair is squeaking. It's going so bad.
Oh me. Or maybe that's my chair squeaking, maybe.
Yeah. Last but certainly not least, we will Martian Manhunter.
Right,
The
not last. We still have Katana.
Oh, where's Katana? She's not even on the list.
No, she is. Scroll up. There's
Oh, okay. Well, okay, not last, but definitely not least. Martian Manhunter. I think we just all kind of give him an S tier. I kind of almost want to say A tier because I don't know if he's quite S, but the turn meter makes him S. Like without the turn meter is the kick over the top. Mine, I mean, he does strong damage. He does team protection. So yeah, he's got a stun, got a purge. I still find I like Brainiac a little better. I don't know why. I just prefer Brainiac. But if you see Martian Manhunter, you have to bring another Martian Manhunter. So, you know, that it definitely makes sense. So, I don't know. Kage, we'll let you start. You have S, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's correct. But like I said in a previous meta report, I think he's a little bit above Saint Walker as an A character, but a little below all the other S characters. I still think he very much controls the flow of a battle.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Loot.
He's 100% S tier. He's got that special turn meter, start with turn meter thing. And that can, that if you don't bring, right now, he's got the most turn meter in the game from the get-go. So even if you're facing anybody else, you're going to go first. Just bring a good comp. You can't lose, except when you're facing Martian Manhunter. So if you're facing any other team, you're not likely to lose. But if you're facing Martian Manhunter, just be smart. Remember, you got to have speed to beat speed. So
We need
to me,
anti-speed.
he is so S tier. Yeah, you need a tune that what the tune does is neutralize turn meter. And maybe that's their passive. That their passive makes it so that turn meter manipulation is neutralized.
Or negative. You're punished
Or
for it.
negative turn meter, yeah.
I'd
But
love
it would
to
have
see it
to
with
be
like
significant.
a Doom mechanic where the more turn meter you do, it like speeds you past your turn, so you just take multiple turns while you have Doom, and then you get screwed.
That would be interesting.
ooh. Oh, maybe like a fixed damage every turn you take.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, I think it would be really fun to do something along those lines.
That'd be really cool. You go
Wally
too
would be
fast.
screwed. Yeah, Wally would be screwed.
It's like, what is that stuff? What was that stuff in the Flash TV show where he was juiced? The bad guy was like juicing, like taking that drug. Was
Oh yeah, for
Velocity
Godspeed. I
9 or
forget what.
something,
Yeah,
and like
Velocity.
he was
Yeah.
going so fast that it just was killing him.
Oh, that'd be
Then he
great.
disintegrates.
That would be a good debuff.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah, I hope they do something like that one day.
Too fast. I
M4.
like it.
M4. Any
Okay,
Martian
I'm
Manhunter?
just gonna highlight one of his skills that just slept on. So he's kind of like Hal Jordan light. So sometimes when you're facing like, let's say a Cassandra Cain, open with his 2, which gives the debuff immunity to all allies, and you're safe from the bleeds. So people kind of forget that and things like, oh, I should just use that when he doesn't have awareness. I often open with that when I'm facing bleeders. And then there you go. He's kind of like Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
Definitely S tier.
Sheriff Lobo.
Yeah, I agree with M4. That's a really overlooked and powerful skill. And Hal Jordan's, automatically starts on your team for 2 turns, but you can strategically use Martian Manhunter. It's only 1 turn, but, you can cast it when you need it. So that, that kind of gives you a little bit more strategery than how, if you can play it right. I agree with what everybody else has said. And I'll say that he's one of the best reworks if you're considering like start to finish point. So he was terrible. He was awful. And now, like in terms of the distance gone with the rework from really horribly bad, like Superboy is another example of like awful to really, really super good and valuable. So
Yeah,
great.
he's right up there with Superboy and Lex. Lex is probably the king of reworks,
I think,
but
yeah, I would say Lex.
the
Yeah.
biggest delta.
But he's not far behind, yep.
Black Adam, man, really great rework.
Yeah, he's up there
Well, he
too.
got that intermediate, like kind of not that terrible and kind of goodish. So
hmm
he got a 2-step.
All right, Sheriff, let's start with you on Katana.
She's not bad. I think she really held her own for me this siege. Her basic is can't miss, which was really helpful against Wally and even those teams where Cassie was on. So she was a good blue to bring against Cassie teams in siege and in a female gym blitz. She was the most helpful blue for me this siege because of her damage. And, especially if you're like facing Superman, you could steal those immunities from him and even survive reds. She helped me nuke Martian Manhunter the first turn. And to give you an example of, I think, how maybe neglected Katana was this siege, yesterday I lost a revenge match against M4, and the team that I lost against was Martian Manhunter, Wally, Castaway, Green Arrow, and Red Robin. And I lost using Martian Manhunter, Wally, Superman, and Red Hood. And when I tried again, I used Martian Manhunter, Wally, Superman, and Katana, and I beat that team with Katana with the blue, whereas before I didn't have it in loss. So she was really helpful, like in terms of taking care of Wally, particularly on that team because you've got those 3 invisibilities and Wally, which you can't hit. And then Red Robin's putting buff immunity on everybody. Katana, she takes out Wally, and then you can get anybody you want because they're all invisible.
M4.
So she was good.
Yeah, I regret not using her because earlier in the siege, I was using Spectre more, but then realized that Katana stealing all of those speed ups from Wally is clutch. She just goes fast. And she has better sustain than Spectre because she can heal.
Mm-hmm.
And don't sleep on that tree. I can one-shot Superman with it. I just open with it and roll the dice, and more often than not, Superman dies, which is kind of surprising. And then she's gonna buff, and then there you go. She gets rolling.
Kage, I know you really like Katana. What's your score before you start?
Yeah, she's pretty underappreciated. Her problem is that she doesn't specialize in anything other than being a hard-hitting blue. So I really like, just like what M4 and Sheriff Lobo said, like you cannot underestimate her. She will clean out your greens. She's pretty good.
What was your score for her?
I would leave her as a B.
Okay. And loot. You're probably going to say the same things I'm going to say.
I actually want to add one more thing for
Okay.
Katana. I want a second rework for her, and I want her to have those guaranteed buffs when she uses her 3 and kills someone. I also want some way for her to gain crits out the window before.
I think she should start with invisibility.
She should just start with her buff move, but
Yeah,
anyway.
she get the crit ups. Yeah,
Yeah.
should be
Oh, that'd be
deadly.
great too.
Yeah, god damn it. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, she should have started with her crit ups. That would be a quality of life change for her, and then change her 3 legendary from 40% to like a 80, 70, I don't care what.
112.
More than 40%, yeah. I don't care. 200% chance to buff again when she's that way she starts ramping and going out of control. I think I would like her more if she did that.
All right, Loot. Now let's hear it.
Oh yeah, I don't even know where to start with her. I hear what everybody's saying, and you know what? God bless you guys, and I'm going to tell you why. So so M4 said, oh, more times than not, turn one, I can kill Superman. I wish I had your RNG, dude. I wish I had your luck, because for me, the only time I can kill anybody is if I buff first. So turn one, I have to buff because I never crit. She's squishy as hell for me. The death immunity, I never get it. So for me, she kind of sucks. She's squishy. She doesn't kill people. I don't get the death immunity. She never crits. I mean, it's whatever. She needs that rework you guys were just talking about. Maybe even an intrinsic crit up that no matter what, she crits every time. Maybe some kind of like, I don't know. She sucks. She's terrible.
Like Loot, I have experienced. I even got an argument with 2D Tron and different people, and I'm posting video. My Katana has never crit before. She just never crits ever. I try to open with a 3 to kill a green. She does like 25% damage to them.
Same.
If Red Hood does an AoE, she instantly dies every time. If Metallo hits her, she's instantly dead. I couldn't keep her alive. Martian Manhunter killed her all the time. Oh my god! Like he never he ignored my reds, which was nice. But then he would just kill Katana. He uses 3. If she had 50% or less life, she was dead every time. So I don't know. I'm with Luke. This siege, I used to like Katana a lot, and then this siege, I had to stop using her because I lost her every single match, every single time. But then again, I was ranked 144, and you guys were much higher than me, so I'll defer to you on that. Which it looks like she still made it to a B, but I had to agree with Luke on a C. And with that, we are done for the month. This was we said we were going to make the podcast shorter, and we made it to 57 minutes. Good job.
All right.
We're like, we'll be back to 30 minutes. And we didn't even have disagreements on the scoring, so that's even more funny. But anything else anybody wants to add before we sign off?
Nope.
All right. And with that, signing off. Thank you for listening to this episode of WROL Broadcast. If you like the show, consider becoming a patron. Just go to patreon.com/WROL Broadcast. And also check out our store at teespring.com/stores/WROL Broadcast. Hey, Bizarro.
Goodbye.
Tell your mom to stop sharing the freaking raid boss.